pharmaceutical industry, we've seen over the last 5-7 years, maybe a decade, where the industry in Denmark is really beginning to balloon, I would say, especially with the large Danish multinational companies that reside in Denmark, of course. But we're getting a lot of feedback from the industry of the pharmaceuticals approach to project delivery. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, both from a contractual perspective, legal perspective, but also maybe cost and contracts management perspective, just so we can, I guess, understand a little bit why they're approaching in that way and what we can do to improve it.
Yeah, well, of course, this might be a strategic choice. I remember back in the day, that's probably 15 years ago, because when it was still politically correct, when I was working with oil and gas contracts. And the thing about oil and gas contracts is, and this is a similar thing for some of these pharmaceutical projects, is as long as you're on time and on quality, price doesn't really matter much.
No, that's right.
So there might be an aspect of that. But otherwise, I think I've heard this. This is not actually a quote. This is just a statement that I've heard 3 or 4 times by now, speaking to actually both within the pharma industry and also concerning these so-called power to X facilities. I've heard the statement, talking 2-3 hours about all of these wonderful things that this plant is going to do and how the production is going to be set up, and then they say, and then we have to get someone to pour the concrete in the ground. And that's their definition of civil works.
Our experience is that you have a lot of individuals from processing, from the operational piece of the facilities, but very few advising on how we're going to get there. And a lot of the understanding is all we're going to do is just get a contractor and away we go. With it. Hurry up, get a contractor, start digging a hole, because if we're doing something means that we're getting towards our end.
Exactly.
As opposed to really bringing professional partners in to advise, to plan, advise, structure, implement, and manage a process for project success.
And I think there's also a misconception that doing all of this delays the project, because you're not. You could say because you're not starting up digging a hole in the ground at the very start. But actually, you can also do that. It's not mutually exclusive. No, it's not one or the other. You can do both, and I think there's so much evidence out there on the McLeany curve. It's just do the front-loading engineering, do front-load everything, right?
But to a high quality, to a good standard. It's not necessarily about spending more at the beginning and getting less, right? You need to get more out of that cost at the beginning. And
exactly.
Often what we see is that there's this kind of challenge between the finance department, the board of directors, which is more of the political piece, and then the project delivery team. And they're always getting kind of pulled and dragged about, hurry up, you need to do it faster. And their advice not really being listened to. And I think that's one of the big challenges for project delivery teams, is that they're not coming with enough analytical data to prove that by moving quickly, we're increasing our risk of delivering top quality on time for the budget. Actually, by moving quickly, more than likely it's the opposite effect. You're going to have poor quality, longer time at a higher cost.
You actually risk that by start digging the wrong hole, you're going to end up taking longer time in the end. And this is also a big challenge, right? There seems to be a lack of understanding on how to deliver projects, as you said. I like that word, deliver projects.
If you look at the big projects around the country, around the world, generally it's delivered by the big engineering companies under kind of special contract structures like EPCM or design and build or what have you. And often we're finding that there's a missing piece to those organizations around commercials and time and change management, in particularly, that are having a direct influence on the project. So it's the customer is going after the big boys to deliver the project because they believe that they're the most effective, if you like. They are the largest in the world. You'd imagine that they can deliver, but often that the result is quite the opposite, actually. They don't have the specializations in key disciplines to deliver or advise.
And to some extent also they will not necessarily be allowed to. Because again, you talk about there's this conflict between finance and the project execution, as you say. And also sometimes this is not actually as much a pharma problem, but sometimes you have this, I think, what do you call it, catch 22? Where you don't get funding. Until you reach a specific point in the project. And actually, in order to reach that point in a proper way, where you have the best possible plan and the best possible engineering, you actually have to invest something. And it's one thing investors don't like also is investing something in nothing. And then they end up investing wrongly. Because it's actually good to invest money in knowing what not to invest in. But that's, I think, it's counterintuitive to human nature. So again, 100%. We'll come back also to the pharma. What's the problem? It's not a problem. It's just human nature, right? These big pharmaceutical companies, they are in the business of making pharmaceuticals, and they're really good at it. And then they just hire someone else to do the construction work and
the asset piece.
Think, okay, we'll leave it to them. Then it's all going to work out. And they need this help actually managing these large entities,
because it's kind of somewhat of a contradiction, isn't it, where pharmaceutical is heavily built on process and quality control and compliance and kind of like that production line of development. And then when we come into the building the asset, it seems to be, all of that seems to be forgotten and saying, well, no, we're just building the building. But the misunderstanding is that the process of building that building is the exact same as developing pharmaceutical. You need compliance, you need quality assurance, you need health and safety, you need a plan of action, you need to build a team around it. It's almost identical, yet we don't seem to take those same values from the product manufacturing into the building manufacturing, if you like, which is, I find is totally bizarre sometimes.
It seems that way, but I agree with you actually. It's but that's human behavior for you, right? Because they don't. I think it's because they don't value the civil part of the works as highly, right? I think that's simple. What I'm doing is much more complicated and
Well, building an extension on your house or your summer house or a factory, it's the same thing, right? It's just concrete. It's a whole fillet, put in some walls and a roof, and away we go. But
we can't use concrete anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Green concrete. Sorry, timber construction, precast, green steel. Yeah.
Exactly.